On May 17, 2018, the family of Mabio Garang, the former Minister of Water in South Sudan, was sitting down for lunch at their Kilimani home. It was one of those quiet Nairobi afternoons, the kind where life feels predictable until it wasn't. Without warning, 4 armed men burst through the doors. Kila mtu alale chini, one of them shouted. The calm was instantly replaced by terror. Within seconds, everyone's hands were tied, except for the 3 house helps. The intruders moved quickly and with most precision, almost as if they've done this before. The family was locked inside a room, helpless, listening as drawers slammed and glass shattered in the next room. By the time it was over, the robbers had made away with 95,000 shillings, 28,000 US dollars, 7 gold necklaces, 3 sets of bangles, 12 rings, 4 watches, and 10 iPhones. And when they left, they didn't go alone. They took the 3 house-helps with them, 2 Ugandans and 1 Kenyan. By the time the family broke free and contacted the police, the thieves were already long gone. But this wasn't going to be one of those cases that disappears into thin air. Detectives moved fast, tracing leads across counties until the trail led them to Trans Nzoia. That's where they found the Kenyan house help hiding out. She was scared, but after hours of questioning, she finally cracked. The name she gave changed everything. Matthew Muhatia Namasaka. At first, police thought Matthew was just another small-time crook, but when they started digging, things got complicated. He wasn't a random thief, he was a bouncer. And not just any bouncer. He was also the personal driver to Mwenda Mbijiwe, a man well known in Kenyan security circles. For those who don't know, Mbijiwe wasn't just another consultant. He was the CEO of Eye on Security Limited, a private firm that trained civilians and corporates on safety and counterterrorism. He was also a regular on TV, often commenting on national security issues. So, imagine the shock when detectives realized that his own driver was linked to an armed robbery. The question became impossible to ignore. How does someone who preaches security end up with people in his circle committing violent crimes? And that was just the beginning. As police started looking into the connection between Namasaka and Mbijiwe, the case took a darker turn, one that will later spiral into one of Kenya's most mysterious disappearances. But even as we tell this story, we at Nairobi Insight are dealing with our own storm. Over the past few months, our platform, the same one that brings you shadows of justice, has been hit with lawsuits and defamation threats from powerful figures who claim our reporting paints them in a bad light. It's the price of digging too deep, of shining a light where most prefer darkness. Huge appreciation to everyone who has supported our cause so far or helped us fight these frivolous lawsuits. To do the same, kindly use the till on screen. Still, we stand by one thing. Truth is not defamation, and stories like this of robbery, corruption, betrayal, and mystery need to be told. Before we dive into the mysterious, this is Shadows of Justice. I'm Mike Ahende, and if you've been following our journey, you know one thing. The truth always fights back. Also, don't forget to hydrate. Now, it's important to note something that puts all this into perspective. Mwenda Mbijiwe wasn't just any man in Nairobi. Just a year before all this went down, he had contested for the gubernatorial seat in Meru County. That meant one thing: he had money, connections, and influence. So, when his driver, Matthew Namasaka, was caught up in a high-profile armed robbery, detectives couldn't buy the financial desperation excuse. There was no way someone working that close to a man of means could claim poverty as a motive. That made the situation even murkier, because now the question wasn't why he did it, it was how far up this thing went. Investigators began pressing Matthew hard, not just about robbery, but about something far more dangerous: the guns. The Garang family had been robbed at gunpoint, and that raised a chilling question: where did the weapons come from? Could they have come from his boss, the same Mwenda Mbijiwe, who was a licensed firearm holder? It was a possibility that made detectives uneasy. They grilled Matthew for hours, but he didn't break. Not once. He was no snitch. Eventually, Matthew was taken to court and released on a 500,000 cash bail. A win for his team, considering it was just a fraction of the estimated 2.8 million they had stolen. But even with his release, the police weren't letting this one slide. They kept their eyes on both him and Mbijiwe, especially since Mwenda had a reputation for mingling with officers at Pangani police station, and not always for the right reasons. According to reports from the Daily Nation, some of his arrangements with officers were questionable at best. In fact, the only time Mbijiwe himself had ever stood before a judge was over a fraud case, one where he allegedly conned a man named Fidhili Abdi Mohammed out of 150,000 Kenya shillings, claiming he could secure a United Nations job for Fadhili's sister, Shazmo Abraham. He was arrested and released on a 50,000 Kenya shillings bail. Still, this was just a fraction of what was about to unfold. Fast forward to 2021, about a month before his disappearance, Mwenda had a silver Toyota Fielder registration number KCP841H from a businessman named Roy Nyandoro, the CEO of Nyandoro Safaris. He didn't say where he was going, he didn't explain why, and that decision, that one quiet, simple move, will mark the beginning of a mystery that Kenya still hasn't solved. When Roy Nyandoro, the owner of Nyandoro Safaris, started tracking the car Mwenda had hired, the signal showed something strange. The Toyota Fielder wasn't where it was supposed to be. It was moving around Western Kenya. The first ping placed it in Kitale, near the home of Mwenda's trusted driver, Matthew Mohatia. Over the next few weeks, the car moved through Kisumu and other towns across the western region, before finally beginning its journey back toward Nairobi. By June 7th, the tracker showed the vehicle approaching the city. Roy was relieved. He thought his car was finally returning home. But as soon as it reached Maimahiu, the signal went static. It stopped moving completely. He tried calling Mwenda. No response. The next day, Mwenda sent him a WhatsApp message calmly assuring him that he would pay the rental fees and that the car was safely parked where he had left it. The tone seemed casual, too casual. The car had been on the road for weeks, yet Mwenda insisted it hadn't moved. That was the first red flag. Still, Roy agreed to Mwenda's word and waited. What he didn't know was that Mwenda had already rented another Toyota Fielder, this time from Mr. Edward Mwangi, claiming it was for business. What business exactly? No one knew. A day after hiring that second vehicle, Mwenda walked into Central Police Station and filed a report under OB number 751606-2021, claiming he was receiving death threats. But from who? That part was never clear. 2 days later, on June 10, 2021, he made what will be his final public appearance, a radio interview on Muga FM, where he discussed national security matters. It would be the last time Kenyans heard his voice. The following day, June 11th, Mwenda visited his driver, Matthew Namasaka, at his home in Congo Ghetto, Kawangware, to discuss business. Inside the small house, he shared a meal with Matthew, a 23-year-old second wife, Cynthia Salome, and promised her that once the deal was done, he'd take her and Matthew on a trip to Dubai with his family. That promise was never fulfilled. The next morning, Matthew left home with Mwenda. As they drove toward Meru County, their car was intercepted near Roysambu by men suspected to be officers from the DCI. Both men were bundled into a waiting vehicle. That same day, Mwenda called his mother. It would be their last conversation. He told her to prepare mokimo for him and his guest where they arrived home, but he never made it there. The following evening, Mwenda's phone went off and never came back online. He stopped responding to calls, messages, everything. By June 13, 2021, the white Toyota Fielder he'd been driving was found abandoned in a coffee plantation near Tatu City in Kiambu County. Inside were his belongings, but no sign of him. Authorities suspected he had been abducted by men believed to be plainclothes police officers. His phone remained off, and by October 2021, he had disappeared from all WhatsApp groups. In the years that followed, his family fought for answers, filing court cases, demanding justice, begging for closure. On October 14, 2025, the High Court summoned both the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Inspector General of Police, urging them to produce Mwenda, dead or alive, within 7 days. But even after all these years, one haunting question still lingers in the air. Could the armed robbery at Mabio Gang's home, the one involving his driver, have been the first domino that led to Peter Mbijiwe's disappearance? Because if it was, then the man who taught Kenyans about security might have fallen victim to the same shadows he warned everyone about. Nairobi Insight.